Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Sripad Bhaktimadhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam, and following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ Yadi na jānīmahe tutam Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu ślokānāṃ bhāgavat-oktiṣu Rādhārānīṃ na vindāmaḥ tadā nishphalam bhagavata-yayinam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānīṃ within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from chapter 5, Canto 5, chapter 26, text 15. Yastvihā vainija vedha patad anapadyapagata pakandam chopagatas tam asi patravanam pravisya kashaya praharanti tatra hasavitas tato davamana ubhayato daraistala vanasi patrais chidyamana sarvangoha hato smriti paramaya vedanaya murchita pade pade nipatati svadharmaha pakan danugatam phalam bhunkte. If a person deviates from the path of the Vedas in the absence of an emergency, the servants of Yamaraj put him into the hell called Asi Patravana, where they beat him with whips. When he runs hither and thither, fleeing from the extreme pain, on all sides he runs into palm trees with leaves like sharpened swords. Thus injured all over his body and fainting at every step, he cries out, "Oh, what shall I do now? How shall I be saved?" This is how one suffers who deviates from the accepted religious principles. Purport. There is actually only, this is purport from Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There is actually only one religious principle, dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. This is from Bhagavatam 6.3.19. The only religious principle is to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, especially in this age of Kali, everyone is an atheist. People do not even believe in God, what to speak of following his words. The words Nija Veda Pata can also mean one's own set of religious principles. Formerly, there was one Veda Pata, or set of religious principles. Now there are many. It doesn't matter which set of religious principles one follows. The only injunction is that he must follow them strictly. An atheist or Nastika is one who does not believe in the Vedas. However, even if one takes up a different system of religion, according to this verse, he must follow the religious principles he has accepted. Whether one is a Hindu or Mohammedan or Christian, he should follow his own religious principles. However, if one concocts his own religious principle, his own religious path within his mind, or if one follows no religious principles at all, he is punished in the hell known as Asipatravana. In other words, a human being must follow some religious principles. If he does not follow any religious principles, he is no better than an animal. As Kali Yuga advances, people are becoming godless and taking up so-called secularism. They do not know the punishment awaiting them in Asipatravana, as described in this verse. Text 16. Yastviha vairaja raja purusho va adhanje dandam pranayati brahmane vasarira dandam sa papiyan narake mutra sukara mukhe nipatati tatrati balar vinishpishamana vayavo yatai vehikshu kanda arta svarena svanayan kvachin murchita kashmalam upagato yatai veha drishta dosa uparudaha. In his next life, a sinful king or governmental representative who punishes an innocent person, or who inflicts corporal punishment upon a brahmana, is taken by the Yamadutas to the hell named Sukaramukha, where the most powerful assistants of Yamaraj crush him exactly as one crushes sugarcane to squeeze out the juice. The sinful living entity cries very pitiably and faints, just like an innocent man undergoing punishments. This is the result of punishing a faultless person. Text 17. Yastviha vaibhutanam ishvaro pakalpita vritinam avivikta para vyatanam svayam purusho pakalpita vritir vivikta para vyato vyatam acharati saparatran dakupe tad abhidrohena nipatati tatra hasotar jantubi pashu mriga pakshi sarishupar mashakayuka matkuna makshi kadibir yeke chadhi drugdas tai sarvato bidruyamanas tamasi vihata nidra nirvritir alabhavastana parikramati yata kusharire jivaha. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, low-grade living beings like bugs and mosquitoes suck the blood of human beings and other animals. Such insignificant creatures are unaware that their bites are painful to the human being. However, first-class human beings, brahmanas, kshatriyas, and vaishyas, are developed in consciousness, and therefore they know how painful it is to be killed. A human being endowed with knowledge certainly commits sin if he kills or torments insignificant creatures who have no discrimination. The Supreme Lord punishes such a man by putting him into the hell known as Antakupa, where he is attacked by all birds and beasts, reptiles, mosquitoes, lice, worms, flies, and any other creatures he tormented during his life. They attack him from all sides, robbing him of the pleasure of sleep. Unable to rest, he constantly wanders about in the darkness. Thus, in Antakupa, his suffering is just like that of a creature in the lower species. Purport. From this very instructive verse, we learn that lower animals created by the laws of nature to disturb the human being are not subjected to punishment. Because a human being has developed consciousness, however, he cannot do anything against the principles of varnashram dharma without being condemned. Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chatur varnyam maya shristam guna karma vibhagasa. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. Thus all men should be divided into four classes, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and they should act according to their ordained regulations. They cannot deviate from their prescribed rules and regulations. One of these states that they should never trouble any animal, even those that disturb humans. Although a tiger is not sinful if he attacks another animal and eats its flesh, if a man with developed consciousness does so, he must be punished. In other words, a human being who does not use his developed consciousness, but instead acts like an animal, surely undergoes punishment in many different hells. Text 18. Yastvihava asam vibhajasnati yat kinchano panatam anirmita pancha yagyo vayasa samshtutaha sa paratra krimi bhojane narakandhame nipatati tatra sata sahasreṣu krimi kunde krimi bhutaha swayam krimi bir eva bhakshamana krimi bhojana yavat tad aprata prahutado nirvesham atmanam yatayate. A person is considered no better than a crow if after receiving some food he does not divide it among guests, old men and children, but simply eats it himself, or if he eats it without performing the 5 kinds of sacrifice. After death, he is put into the most abominable hell known as Krimi Bhojana. In that hell is a lake of 100,000 yojanas, 800,000 miles, wide and filled with worms. He becomes a worm in that lake and feeds on the other worms there, who also feed on him. Unless he atones for his actions before his death, such a sinful man remains in the hellish lake of Krimi Bhojana for as many years as there are yojanas in the width of the lake. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.13, Yagyashishta shinashanto uchante sarva kilbisai bhunjate te tvagam papa ya pachantyatma karanat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. All food is given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. The Lord supplies everyone with necessities of life. Therefore, we should acknowledge His mercy by performing yajna or sacrifice. This is the duty of everyone. Indeed, the sole purpose of life is to perform yajna. According to Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Yagyartat karma no nyatra loko yam karma bandhana tad artam karma kaunteya mukta shanga samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. If we do not perform yajna and distribute prasad to others, our lives are condemned. Only after performing yajna and distributing the prasad to all dependents, children, brahmanas, and old men, should one eat. However, one who cooks only for himself or his family is condemned, along with everyone he feeds. After death, he is put into the hell known as Krimi-bhojana. So it's interesting to acknowledge, right, beyond the terrifying, horrifying conditions of the hells that are being described, it's trying to reinforce some moral principles, right? And then it's just out of mercy for us foolish people who would probably not follow those moral principles if they were just offered without a hammer being held to our face, they give some extra motivation. But it's interesting in this hell, it's saying, if you don't willingly share the abundance that the Lord has given to you in this lifetime, then your punishment will be you will be forced to share even your body with everything around you without your consent. So it's like this karma, right? Karma is just like we have that sign with the cow for our Sunday program, right? If in this lifetime you are slaughtering animals, in the next lifetime those animals will slaughter you. So here it's saying, if in this lifetime you don't share what you have properly with those around you, then your karma will be forcefully, they will take your very flesh from you without your consent. So it's very merciful because our consciousness is so dense and so rigidly attached to our material conditioning and our self-centeredness that it needs to be shaken a little bit. Like, if you don't do this, these horrifying conditions will come and get you. It's out of mercy. It's trying to shake us. Text 19. Yastvihavaistena baladva hiranya ratnadini brahmanasya vapaharatyan yasya vanapadi purushastam amutra rajanyama purusha ayasmayar agni pindai sandam shaistvachi nishkushanti. My dear king, a person who, in the absence of an emergency, robs a brahmana, or indeed anyone else of his gems and gold, is put into a hell known as sandamsa. There his skin is torn and separated by red-hot iron balls and tongs. In this way, his entire body is cut to pieces. I'm not sure how that's a karmic reciprocal of stealing gold from a brahmana, but I wouldn't want that to happen, so I just won't steal. Okay, text 20. Yastvihāvai agamyam striyam agamyam va purusham yosid abhigachati tavamutra kashaya tadayantas tigmaya swarmya lohamaya purusham alingayanti striham cha purusha kṛpayā swarmya. A man or woman who indulges in sexual intercourse with an unworthy member of the opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Yamaraj in the hell known as tapta swarmi. There, such men and women are beaten with whips. A man is forced to embrace a red-hot iron form of a woman, and the woman is forced to embrace a similar form of a man. Such is the punishment for illicit sex. Purport. Generally, a man should not have sexual relations with any woman other than his wife. According to Vedic principles, the wife of another man is considered one's mother, and sexual relations are strictly forbidden with one's mother, sister, and daughter. If one indulges in illicit sexual relations with another man's wife, that activity is considered identical with having sex with one's mother. This act is most sinful. The same principle holds for a woman also. If she enjoys sex with a man other than her husband, the act is tantamount to having sexual relations with her father or son. Illicit sex life is always forbidden, and any man or woman who indulges in it is punished in the manner described in this verse. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from text 21 on Monday. Okay. So with that last example, I feel some of these hellish destinations, again, everything is within consciousness. Not that these are physical, whether they are or not, physical destinations. Everything is happening within consciousness. Even going from one physical location to another physical location is happening within consciousness. So this point is everything is in the conscious plane, and that these punishments are seeming to, again, it's all out of mercy, actually, to try to shock the degraded consciousness of those who may not otherwise have the intelligence to notice the effects of their own suffering, right? So, for example, this adultery that was mentioned in the last verse. Many people may not have the capacity to see how that's toxic for them, and they just, are willing to accept the circumstances as they are and engage in that adultery, and they don't see how it's toxic for them. They just, engage in the immediate sense gratification and then kind of just turn a blind eye to the destructive things, however subtle they may be or not subtle they may be. They'll just turn a blind eye to those things. So this is saying, no, if you engage in this, literally you're grabbing hot iron and scalding yourself on the conscious level. This is what's happening to you. So let us try to make it very clear, very straightforward. Don't do it, because you will be scalding your flesh and searing it off. This is the kind of self-destructive action. So just trying to make it very apparent. Because
it's not just self-destructive, or it's destroying other people's lives as well. It's a very selfish act. For your own satisfaction, you're affecting other people in a very negative way. Whether, it may not be the person you're engaging with, but the family surrounding that person. It's very selfish. All of these things, like eating for yourself without sharing, having adulterated sex because just to satisfy yourself or your lust. It's, again, all these acts are very selfish, and you're not thinking about the other people around you. Again, living in service, right?
Yeah, but it is self-destructive, because a part of this whole science of consciousness is how interdependent self and other are.
Mm-hmm.
How our actions, so by engaging in that selfish activity, whether it's not sharing your food with others or engaging in adultery, yes, immediately it's bad for the family of that other person and your family. But by numbing yourself to that negative reaction for others, you're limiting your own sense, you're numbing yourself right? So that's going to then make it more likely that you engage in those kind of activities because you're numb, you're desensitizing yourself. And then by acting that way ourselves, we're telling other people through body language, through right actions speak louder than words kind of thing. We're telling others that it's also okay to treat us in that way. So then, right, we're setting the standard for how others treat us by the way that we treat others. So that also comes back. So our self and other, these two things are not separate. They're never isolated. We see a part of ourselves in the way that we treat others, and that comes back in a very direct way to how others treat us. And like this. Anyhow, so this is all just trying to inspire self-reflection and self-analysis. And by giving these very extreme examples, maybe these extreme examples don't fit everyone who hears it, but it's supposed to then, for those who are thoughtful, make us think about where on the spectrum do we fall. Maybe we don't fall on these extreme side, but somewhere in between appropriate action and inappropriate action for spiritual development, we probably fall somewhere. So where do we fall and how can we do better? That's the whole point here. So we're very grateful to continue to read Bhagavatam and to continue to allow Bhagavatam to read us. Right? Bhagavatam is reading us. By the grace of the devotees, by the grace of the Supreme, of the Divine. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees. Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Pur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Shyam Kund Radhakund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Devi Dasi Ki Jai, Śrīmatī Tulsi Devi Dasi Ki Jai, Bhakta Saraswati Ki Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kesava Das Brahmachari Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
No.